Anyway, we are recording. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our panel. I'm Ivett Paulovics. I'm a lawyer based in Milano, Italy. I'm specialized in internet law and intellectual property, and I will moderate our panel in English this afternoon, and we will cover two hot topics in the domain name space. So the first topic is NIS2 and the opportunities for registrars, registries and web players. So the NIS2 directive that should have been transposed by October 2024 raises the bar for cybersecurity and introduces obligations on domain name registration data, security measures, and cooperation across the ecosystem. It's often seen as a compliance burden, but it also brings some opportunities to enhance trust, improve data quality, and strengthen the domain name industry as a whole. Nevertheless, there is an ongoing uncertainty surrounding the implementation of Article 28 of the NIS2 directive at national level. As of today, the majority of the member states haven't transposed the directive into their national laws, including France. And among those that have done so, most of the countries have replicated the text of the directive without providing meaningful elaboration or practical evidence. The second topic is geoTLDs and geographical indications. Geographic identities are increasingly important in the digital space, and geoTLDs like .alsats help regions to build their digital identity. At the same time, geographical indications protect traditional products linked to a place like Champagne or Parmigiano Reggiano. Together, they raise questions about branding, authenticity, and the role of domain names in promoting local economies. So today, our three distinguished panelists will help us explore these topics. Benjamin will come in on the second one, offering insights from the perspective of registries, law and geoTLD operations. So our first topic is NIS2, from constraints to opportunities, and our first speaker is Pierre Bonis, Director General of AFNIC. Pierre, how do you see registries turning NIS2 compliance, especially registration data obligations, into an advantage? And also, what role can registries play in supporting registrars and end users in this transition?
Thank you very much, Ivett, and thank you to bring us a fresh air of optimism, presenting NIS2 as an opportunity, which is, but that's not always the way we see it when we have to try to understand what we're going to have to implement. Since this is interesting that we mainly talk about 28. And for those who were to previous MDDCon, we discussed that already, and I'm still convinced that the major impact of on our industry is not on the transposition of Article 28. It's on the fact that a lot of players, medium and little size players, will become essential entities. And so the obligations in terms of cybersecurity are the main topic, I guess, for our industry. Because if I look at the things today, and talking about .fr, Of course, AFNIC is an essential entity. It was a essential operator, essential service operator under the NIS2. Some of the major registrars were already classified that way. Most of the time, not because they were registrars, but because they were web hosting companies or sometimes telco companies with web hosting and things like that. But I would say that more than 70% of our distribution channel was not an essential entity, and they will become automatically, more or less, when it will be transposed. And there I see opportunities. And the opportunities I see depends on the way the National Security Agency is going to look at them. If they look at them saying from day one you have to implement 100% of the rules that has been published, it's not going to be an opportunity, except if you see the contraction of the market and the biggest buying the smallest an opportunity, because you will have a lot of companies who will disappear or leave the market because they won't be able to do that. If you have a security agency that insists on the continuous improvement in terms of security and goes with these players, helping them to continuously implement better cybersecurity expertise, then it's a huge opportunity to have a better cybersecurity level all over France, for instance. So everything is in the implementation, and that's why I'm very glad that it's a directive and not something else. Because, and even for the registrars who are sometimes, and I understand that, complaining about the fact that you may have 27 different implementation of the directive because you have 27 countries, and the biggest of them say it would be easier if we had only one implementation. That may be true for Article 28, but for the rest of it, which is to me the most important, it's not exactly true. It depends of the landscape. So there is an opportunity there. Then on Article 28, for those who doesn't know, Article 28 is an article that is in the middle of the directive NIS, which is Network Information Security. That is a directive about the cybersecurity. And the Article 28 is about the collection and verification of data of the registrant. It's important to say that because it's a little bit awkward because it's not really a cybersecurity problem. It can be a cyber police problem, but it's not per se a cybersecurity problem. So it has the potential to change the business model totally. Or it has the potential to put some pressure on the players, the various players, which are the registrars, the registries, sometimes the proxies, sometimes the resellers, to take more attention on the quality of the data that is given to them. If this is seen that way, once again, it's an opportunity. And that's what we try to do, and I answer the second question on that. At AFNIC, we try to work with our registrars, not to set rules that would be the same for everyone, but to try to collect the way they have to verify data in their own registrars, and to tell them, if you verify data, just tell us that the data is verified. You may have a different way, one to another. The important thing is that we increase the amount of data that is verified. And once again, if we go that way, I'm very convinced that that will be an opportunity because it will give more clarity. If we go another way, which should be to have a set of rules saying to everyone, you have to verify that way at this moment, this kind of data, that will be the contrary of an opportunity. That will be a huge and unnecessary burden on our industry. That is not the only one, that is in competition with others. And we will see if we have this kind of thing. Let's say, for instance, you have to make sure the identity of any registrant to any registered domain name. At the very moment you register a domain name, you have to be sure, you have to verify his identity. If we go that way, the first result will be that it's going to be more complex to register a domain name. People will say, yes, but you already have this kind of verification, for instance, when you open a telephone line or when you open a bank account, which is more or less true, by the way. But the people don't see opening a telephone line or a bank account the way they see going to the internet. And if they are asked things that they feel are too complex or when they register a domain name, and they still can open a Facebook page or a Amazon page without this kind of verification, these are the competitors of the domain name industry. So this is once again opportunities if this is smoothly implemented. Doesn't mean that we don't want to do anything. It means that, at least for AFNIC, we are seeking the confidence of the government, which obviously we have today. I mean, there is no big fight between us, the government and the parliament on that. And we ask them and we ask the community to trust us and to verify that the trust they've given to us is that we are reliable, which means we ask them to look at the abuse rate. We ask them to look at the time they need to verify the identity of the registrant of a domain name that is problematic. But we ask them not to look at us and at the way we are doing things on an everyday basis, because we have 350 different registrars that they may have different ways of of doing things. We have a special way of doing things and we are still experimenting, and we would not like to have a set of rules that is on the paper and that will not be changed before NIS2. So that was what I wanted to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we had a typographical error on the program, so our next second speaker is Ivett Tayer, a lawyer from Tayer Advocates. So I would like to ask you, from a legal standpoint, what are the biggest risks if a registrar or a registry fail to comply with NIS2? And also, if you think that we will see harmonization across EU member states, or even beyond, just put it there, or will fragmentation still remain a challenge for global players?
What a question!
Yeah. Sorry, I was not prepared to answer the questions.
You
are very
3 hours.
prepared.
A lot more. Now, just, I mean, very briefly on the sanctions, fairly easy, and depending on the status of the, if it's an essential or important entity, it's 2% or 10 million euros, or 1.4 or 7 million. Okay. Having said that, we're very happy to know that there is an amount that we can be sanctioned It may happen, it did happen with the GDPR sanction, so we know it's there. Are they going to be able to pay something like this? Not sure. So it's not going to be that amount, clearly not yet. Now on the second point on the harmonization, I would believe that that's the point of a directive, is to organize some kind of harmonization. We've got guidelines with a directive, and we can see that, I mean, some countries took some time to implement and transpose the text. It's not yet arrived in France. It was supposed to be there, but someone just decided to quit the governance. Sorry. But the text was
still running.
No. This is why, I mean, I was just making a bit of a joke. But the last amendment went out. The day before. On the 9th and 10th. Some of them is not yet published. We are in a good way to go to something that is much better than was expected initially, because as we've got plenty of things about French people and French government saying that it's doing better than the others. So they went over the directive. They went even over the overline of the directive. But we're quite happy with in particular, the intimation of the AFNIC, that they just went back to some coherence in the text. I mean, the directive says what you should do, and normally the government and parliament should go to organize, transpose the text to make it coherent with what the EU says, and not go further and setting lines that are just nonsense in some way. So when we have that situation, it's complicated, because we have on one side the idea of harmonizing something, and you let the countries transpose the text, transposing with some kind of liberty. So that can go from 0 to 10. Now, we've got like with the GDPR, national entity checking what's going on. And you have the European entity that is normally there to make things smooth, balance when there is an issue with two countries that are implementing not correctly or not as it should be. And we have the same mechanism with the NIS2, which is one thing and one way of understanding it, that the harmonization may actually, if it's not 100% harmonized, but at least have some equal treatment, whether we're in France, Benelux, Spain, or Italy. But that may take some time, because we're actually not sure about what's going on, because the transposition is not being totally made in most of the countries. Late, certainly. And we don't know what the text will be. Or maybe they just say, well, cut and paste, or paste and make it government, it's fine, and we've got the directive, straight line. Or they can be inspired by what France did. It's going to be a bit of a mess at some stage. But there is one point on the 28th, because you were discussing it, and you tried to not to mention it. No, don't worry. Because I like the opportunity of constraint. You were mentioning the rule of how you collect the data. And today, I mean, from the text, we don't know how it will be done, because it's going to be on a decree. So how can we organize it if, I mean, that could be free. I mean, we're asking me to collect data and make it in a certain kind of transparency, and explaining why I'm taking it and how I'm taking it. Could be a spreadsheet document, could be on paper, it could be anywhere you want to do it, and you do it. And for an explained reason, it says, well, the decree will tell you how to do it. I'll be very happy. I don't know what Pierre thinks about that idea. Even my position would be, yeah, it's nice to have some guidelines. But if they say you have to do it that way and it makes no sense, and it's too complicated, or it's impossible, or it has an impact in the fact that the end user say, I just drop, and that won't be an opportunity anymore. or it is really guidelines saying do it whatever you want, but we want a minimum at that point, something that is simple and that anyone can do it, then it might be useful just not to let people going anywhere in any sense. That could be one of my point of view on the NIS2, but I'm sure there's people here that want to. Pierre first.
No, because you just said something that is that I forgot, and that is very important. Yeah, in the French transposition, some things are put to an executive order, I would say, and not in the law. And there is a kind of battle today between the parliament and the government. Some parliamentarians saying we want as much things in the law as possible. Because the devil is in the details, and it could change the spirit of the law if the executive order is made that way or that way. And the position of AFNIC on that is that we are rather on the government side on that, because we think that the precisions that you can put in an executive order can be changed easily, and the precisions are about our day-to-day work. So it's more about the fact that if you put something in the law saying you have to collect data that way and this amount of data and things like that, if you have to change it for one reason or another, you have to go back to the parliament. It takes time, and during this time, the economic players are stuck in something that is not working. So that's the first point. The second point I wanted to make is that there is a reason why in France they have decided to put in an executive order what has to be collected, not the way it has to be, but what has to be collected. And that's interesting, because in the directive, there is a minimum set of data that has to be collected. And this minimum set is the name, I think the email and the phone number or something like that. There is not the postal address in the minimal set of data that is in the directive. In some countries, just like France, .fr is forbidden to people who are not living in the European Union, which means that if you don't collect the postal address, you cannot implement the basic rules of .fr. So the reason why they have to complete this list is because AFNIC asked them and said, don't say that you have to collect only the name, the phone number, and the email, because if you do that, the registrars are going to give us only this information, and we won't be able to implement our rules that FR is for European citizens. Same thing for Alsace, same thing for Paris, etc., etc. So sometimes we ask for less regulation, sometimes we ask for more. It depends of the interest of it. And the last thing is that, and you talked about opportunity, one opportunity of NIS2 and Article 28, because it has difficult for me to find opportunities in this Article 28. There is one at least, and I think we won the battle in the Parliament, is because it said that the registrars and the registries are responsible of the data, it put pressure on the registrar that have no right not to give the data to the registries. Which means that the kind of discussion that we have in the ICANN, when some registrar says, you don't need the data, I have that, under NIS2, it should not be possible. And the way the law is written now gives room to the registries to say to the registrars, my hands are tied, you have to give me the data because the law asks me to be responsible of the data, so you cannot keep it. So this is an opportunity, at least for the registry.
Benjamin, do you want to? Okay, so you want
we collect some anonymized data from the registrar. So not only the data goes on the WHOIS, but the data I use on my database. So that would be a way to say, okay, now give me the real data.
Great. So thank you for sharing your
But
views.
I think that's the only opportunity for small registries.
Yeah, that's the only opportunity whatsoever. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now let's move from security and regulation to the question of identity. Domain names are not only technical assets, they also carry meaning. And geoTLDs, you have space there? Yes. Okay, perfect. geoTLDs like .alsace and geographical indications like Champagne and Parmigiano Reggiano connect products and communities to places, creating authenticity and economic value. Our next discussion will explore how these tools can work together, the challenges they face, and the opportunities for regions and businesses in the digital age. So let's start with Benjamin. .alsace is a concrete example of how geoTLDs can promote regional identity. What successes and challenges have you experienced so far? And also, how do you see synergies between geoTLDs, so this is the second question, and geographical indications in promoting authenticity and local economy online?
So, when we speak about geoTLDs, since 2012, we are speaking about cities and regions, okay? Because we don't have geographical indication who got its own TLD since 2012. I hope it will come now, next year. But now geos are cities and regions, because on the geoTLD group inside the icon in GNSO, we are only cities and regions. So for us, it's a very good way to promote terroirs, cities, regions, local businesses, and the first idea is to say, okay, I give you a tool, a digital tool, that you can trust, that people can trust, okay? Because we have some rules, we are checking every registration, so in a way we are trying to explain to users and to registrants that now in this .alsace or .paris or .bzh space, when you go on a website, on a .alsace website, you know that you are in Alsace, and the probability to have a scam is very, very, very low. Okay, very low, because usually geoTLDs have less than 0. Point something % rate of abuse. It's very, and usually sometimes when you have an abuse, I have maybe 1 or 2 per year. It's not a real one. It's a spam caused by small. Last one was a butcher in next to Strasbourg who sent an emailing, and it was not very well done, and it was Gmail or Orange who thought that it was a spam. Okay, so it's not really one. So we are very, very low abuse TLDs, and Alsace is today the only geoTLD with the name is a geographical indication tool. Okay, Paris and others, it's the cities, region, but Alsace is a region. It was a region, and wine, cheese, beer, asparagus, lots of things called Alsace. Okay, everybody know about wine. So we have to, and the public authority asked us to protect them. Okay, so we blocked lots of domain names: wine.alsace, vin.alsace, asparagus.alsace, riesling.alsace, gewürztraminer, etc. And we allocated those domain names only to, for wine, it was the wine syndicate of Alsace called SIVA. Okay, and for the others, it was, if we founded the association of producers, we allocated the domain to those guys. Okay, to build a trusted environment and trusted digital space. Now, with 2026, I hope I hope, and we had some discussion this summer in Geneva. I hope that we will see some new geos, but not geos like cities and dream, but IGs, okay, like .champagne, .prosecco, .tequila, I don't know, whatever, because my opinion is that it's a huge opportunity for them to build, like us, trusted digital space, okay, and to explain to their customer whatever they are in the world. If you arrive on a .champagne, for example, website, you are on Champagne and you can put your credit card on the website. You will get your wine on your Champagne, and not.
You're sure it's going to cost you?
Yeah. Because the Champagne authority will manage all the registration and will allocate domain name only to their members in a way. Okay, so that's very important to understand. The other way is that, for me, it's the best way and the only way to be more offensive on the internet for them, because if I see what happened on the internet governance, they are more on the defensive side, okay? And in a way, because the Comité Champagne has been created to defend the name Champagne, okay? Because it's not a brand. It is a brand now, somewhere in the US, I think. That's it. But it's difficult, and for them it's difficult to protect themselves on the internet because nobody cares about them, okay? In ICANN community, nobody cares about IG. You are not a brand, I don't discuss with you. I don't protect you, okay? So to have its own top level domain is the best way to be on the offensive side, okay, and to build something trustful and to build your real online presence that you want to that represent your name and your terroir. Something more? Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Pierre, it's your turn now. So from AFNIC point of view, what is the role of TLDs in strengthening regional identity and digital sovereignty? And how could AFNIC support GI producer groups and regional actors who want to use domain names for promotion and protection?
Thank you, Ivett. So first of all, let's recall that the historic mission of AFNIC is to be the registry of the .fr, which means that the .fr is already a regional, in a way, local TLD. It's a CC-TLD, country code TLD. It has a link with that place. So, and this is something that sometimes people forget. The main difference before the new geoTLD programs 10 years ago that allowed geoTLDs between the Gs and the CCs was about the place. The Gs were, this is a topic, this is not a place. The CCs, this is a place, this is not a topic. So, of course, I mean, by design in our DNA, we are very much convinced that there is a usefulness of the TLD to point out a local geographical identity, first thing. And FR does that. But FR is broad, and you have cities, regions with cultural specificities. And it has to be recognized, and the thing is that it's not only a petition to say it has to be recognized, it works. Because Alsace works, BZH works, Corsica works, Paris works. So it's not the income of VeriSign with a .com. It doesn't matter. It gives a service to people who wants it. It's run by public authorities or even if it's not run by them, it's oversight by them. And it gives something more on the internet map. So we really hope, and we are very engaged, along with Benjamin and also with BZH, to try to advertise this approach of the geoTLDs. As for the GIs, I think Benjamin has said almost everything. We are convinced that the GIs, if some of them apply for TLDs, this is the best way to use a system that is not recognizing them to be recognized. So instead of having an endless battle saying to the American, you should recognize the GIs, which they have never done that. We have had fierce battle in WTO for decades. And the thing is that, as far as I know, Americans, they don't even know what is WTO. So they're not even going to fight them. They don't go there anymore. So there is no way to convince half of the world, or maybe half of the world, but more than half the power of the domain name industry, to recognize legally something that they have never done. But using the new geoTLD round to flag the GI through a TLD is totally possible. And that's really what we hope for some GIs, that they will do that. And it will be good for them and good for the international recognition of what it means to be a geographical indication, because when you run your TLD, you set the rules of registration. You don't have to ask anyone if you're allowed to accept or dismiss. You say, only those who are registered as official producer under my geographical indication are allowed to register a domain name. It's much quicker than negotiating at WIPO or WTO for years. So that's the reason why we are very, very keen on being with this GI indication, this GI if they want. I think that they are still discussing that, but we will still be here to help them as much as we can. And that's what I wanted to say about it.
There is another key point for a geographical indication. If you become a registry, okay, you become an insider, and you have a seat at ICANN. Because today nobody wants to hear you; they don't care about you. If you become a registry, you become a member. Okay, I pay. I can come every time. I'm on the GNSO, on the geoTLD group. Why not? Or another one. So you become a member of this community, a real member, identified, and you have your seat, and so you can discuss about policies, etc., etc. And that's a different point, because you are identified inside the community.
Totally, and I just once again forgot one thing. We are talking about the relationship between ICANN world or ecosystem and the recognition of geographical indication. Let's remind that geographical indication are not only in Europe, there's a lot of them in South America, there is a lot of them in Asia, there are some of them in Africa too. If we look the geographical indication recognition in the TLD world is done when we are talking about registries or TLDs that are European. If there is a problem with the geographical indication under .fr, we will solve it under the European law, and we have done that already. Okay? So the question is not that the EU makes another law of protecting GIs, which they are currently trying to do, that will apply only to those who are respecting GIs, which is us. It is to help geographical indication owner to go and apply for new geoTLDs. In another word, what is currently done in the EU, which is trying to make new rules about the fact that if someone registers something that is like a GI under .fr, I have to inform the EU IPO, and there is a kind of agree, not agree thing, blah, blah, blah. And this is one burden more that will be relying only on us, who are respecting the law about GI, once again, and it will not change the situation of the .com. So I guess, I don't know, there is no EU representative in the room. Maybe there could be, but this is registered. Hello. So please stop doing regulation, applying only to those who are respecting your laws, and try to organize the battle to change the fact that the others are respecting our laws, which would be much more efficient, I think. Thank you.
Maybe just some.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
As usual, just some words about the application itself for next year for GIs. Usually, GIs are managed. The name is managed by an association, a non-for-profit association. So we talked about that just downstairs earlier. They can apply for ICANN ASP. It's a specific program to help applicants, so non-for-profit applicants or CD region, and you will have a huge rebate on the ICANN fees for the next round. Okay, so for a GI, it can be very expensive to apply for a TLD. Okay, because the ICANN fees are very high, and then you have to pay for people who help you to apply, etc. So, okay, with that, you can have 75 to 85% rebate on the ICANN fees. It's huge. Okay, so with this rebate, it can be very interesting and easier to apply for the TLD. So it's something you have to keep in mind if you're a GI.
Okay, so
I've got an issue for about 5 minutes. Is that the devil is knocking in my skull, and I'm not going to fight the geographical indication or GI as such, and I'm just in the same line as Benjamin and Pierre. Yet GI are not. I mean, they're not covered by the same law as trademarks or designs or whatever. They're not recognized as such in all the countries. They don't have the same force. Some are just non-existing, or are just rejected, because even if you've got a country that recognizes GIs, they consider that for some products they cannot be acceptable just for, I mean, if we take the example of Islamic countries, you have all the wine GIs that are filed because it is allowed to file that, but it's rejected because it's wine. We're going on the Islamist rules and not saying not the law. So you can see that you have already some discrepancies between the kind of protection and recognition of GIs. Now, if I'm just putting on, let's say I'm going for the Dutch champagne, and I set a rule saying, because I'm the registry, I'm the owner of the Dutch champagne and I do whatever I want. I don't want someone that does not do the champagne like we do it in Champagne, with some rules. And the guy say in the States, yeah, well, sorry, I'm doing champagne. In Australia, I'm doing champagne. I don't care, but that's not fair trade. And we're going on a side which is not saying it's not seen as such, but in the contract with ICANN, you're allowed somehow, what ICANN would allow somehow, that you restrict access to fair business. Is that ethical? I'm not saying, I mean, it's pure hypothetic. It's one of the devil that is knocking in my skull, just to think about the question that might be a subject that could be discussed. Now, you could have the parallel between cities and region. Cities, I mean, maybe you have some cities that have the same name, but only one is interested. took to Paris, several Paris. None of them were interested, but Paris. Okay, fair enough. It's nice, and we know what Paris is. Alsace is Alsace. I don't know if there's another Alsace region somewhere in the world.
There is a small city in the US.
Yeah, well, it's just they didn't have an idea. Maybe it was an organization that was there and just say, well, let's call it Alsace, and that's it. But it's one place. But in that sense, the approach on the feeling you have on the name, how you associate it, is not the same way as, I mean, a city is a city, a region is a region, and GI is something that someone said it is like this and cannot be elsewhere. So, to what extent? I mean, on GI in Europe, it's easy. I mean, Feta, Parmigiano Reggiani, or whichever you have, and you know what it is. But what is the situation in other countries?
Tequila.
David?
No, but tequila is working in Mexico.
Sorry, yeah.
That's
So
a
you see
community.
the approach. I mean, it's just to be a bit picky on the subject.
Lauren, do you want to?
Yeah, I think that David made a very good point because for us in Europe, GIs are GIs, but in different countries they are generic names. So if you have a Dutch champagne, people can complain about Dutch champagne because it will be a close generic in a way, because you will not allow people who don't have anything to do with champagne to register a Dutch champagne. And since some countries are considering that champagne is not a GI and it's not a trademark, so it's a generic name, and they can flag that there is an issue there because you cannot block people to. It's about fair trade, as you mentioned. I really, like the approach of using GI as in a more offensive way, and I think it makes a lot of sense, especially following discussion we had this afternoon, about trademark, about dot brands, because the idea is the same: build trust by using your TLD. So I think it's very much aligned with the dot brand discussion. And my third point is that I'm not sure that in geoTLDs there is a specific process, right? And I think that according to the guidebook, you need to have like the authorization or the non-opposition of the local government. But when it comes to champagne, it's the local government is not. I mean the département or the region. It's the Comité International Champagne, which is not a local government. So maybe there will be an issue with the authorization if you consider it as a geoTLD.
Yeah, you're right. In some cases, for instance, Bordeaux,
It's a city as well, yeah.
you can go through a geo because it's also a town or something like that.
Like Gorgonzola.
And
Same
Gorgonzola, and a lot of GIs, by the way, are referring to a local place that actually exists when there is a local authority, even if it's not the case for everyone. It's a very good point saying that some people may say this is a generic because it's not a trademark. Okay. And I like the idea that the battle is at this stage, which is the stage before the TLD is in the root. Some people may complain, and we will have explanations about that. We may win or lose, but this is at this stage. And David, when this is at the next level, the stage after, if you look at GI's TLD as community TLDs more than geoTLDs, then you don't have this problem, because you say my community is the community of those who are members of the GI. So there is not a question of fair trade, for instance, or things like that. If you go through that community application, it's not easy, but you can go either on one or another. I mean, in a way, if I'm the registry of .Paris, for instance, and I say, you have to have a keen interest in Paris. You don't have to live in Paris, but you have to have a keen interest in Paris, which means that theoretically, if someone from Paris, Texas wants to register at .paris, and I ask this registrant, why do you want to register at .paris? And he answers me, because I live in Paris, Texas, I can reject his registration. And this is on the rules that has been approved by ICANN. And it's the same thing about the free trade. I think that the biggest problem is, will it be allowed to file a GI? Because it could be a closed generic. Well, once it's done, you still have the right to set the rules. And the rules, by the way, you want to set are on your application. So once it has been filed and accepted, there is nothing like fair trade.
Yeah.
There are accepted rules, and it doesn't prevent anyone to register champagne.shoes or champagne.club or champagne.biz, but not champagne.champagne.
No, it works. I mean, I'm not saying I was just thinking about all the hypotheses we could have in the well, not the risk or the struggle you could have as the GI to go in. I mean, Champagne is one of the best examples because it's a big mess, but you have smaller GIs that may build up their brand or their name throughout the internet community, not to say community.
Ça fait du sens.
Running the community, a GI as a community TLD, I think is not the easy way to go through the application process, because you know what happened to many community TLD during the last one. No,
It became a community at the end.
No, because there was a community evaluation process, which was very tough. And for example, for Champagne, you can imagine that the community is bigger than the Champagne to the web producers. It can be all the bars in the world who are selling champagne, which are selling champagne, the people who like champagne in the world, this kind of thing. So I will be cautious with the community application for champagne. I mean, based on what happened.
Yeah. I think that there is no gender approach, no inclusion, and no affirmative action. I think we have the best chances to get it.
Anybody else from the audience?
What's your opinion about the recent request of Napa Valley wine producers who wants to block the American wine appellation for the next round of geoTLDs? Is it a lack of understanding or communication?
I think Laurent knows it. Napa Valley, there have been stronger lies when we had this .wine, .vin problem. And there were, they wrote letters supporting indirectly the GI approach. But they are not a geographical indication because this is not recognized in their own country. So the only way they have, in a way, to protect it is to ask it to be protected from the beginning. So I'm not sure that they don't understand that, but they still don't, they are still in a place that is not really recognizing in the geographical indication.
During the last round, I mean, they did, as mentioned by Pierre, the Napa Valley wine producers, they sent some letters to the US government as well, supporting the GI approach from European GAC members. But the government, the US government was not very receptive to that. But this time, they did that on purpose, because they want to flag this issue in advance. They have a very good relationship with the Champagne committee, so I think that there is a kind of communication between the two of that. And so yeah, but the thing is that in the US, the wine producers from Napa Valley, they are not strong enough, I mean, to influence the US position on GIs for the moment. So, so I don't think that they don't understand. I think that they are just trying to keep some pressure and make sure that this issue will be on the agenda of ICANN, of the ICANN community, and this is why I think we're talking today about that. It's because there is still this pressure since 2012, sorry. And we had some discussion about the last 2 years about that. But I think yes, they want to show that they don't. They have the same situation as Champagne, and they want to protect their products. This is what they are doing. That. But they understand the situation.
And they are from California, which is not a good thing.
Anyone else? Don't be shy. Ask, because this is the last opportunity. No, of course not. So our
Can I ask you, Benjamin, what's the story with .Corsica? Thank you.
The recent story, because there is
Thank you.
lots of story.
Is there any recent stuff?
Corsica is a geoTLD, French geoTLD managed. The registry is the local public authority, okay. And at the beginning, at the real beginning, they wanted to put some very restrictive policies, okay, with identity verification. You have to prove that, okay. You can imagine such policies when you're a registry, a geo, and you want to be sure that all the registrants will be from Corsica. Okay, that was the main idea for everybody. But the reality of the market is quite different. Okay, because if you ask to your registrars, you say, okay, if you want to sell some .Corsica domain name, you have to collect different data, cabis or IDs from people, and so on. They say, okay, forget about me. It's not possible. If you were the only TLD on the market right now, okay, it's possible. Okay, but we have to onboard, I don't know, 1,000 TLD. It's not possible. Okay, so you have to make it very simple. So they changed their mind, but at the beginning it was quite difficult. So they changed their mind, and then they grew up very nice, okay, and they were accompanied by somebody, by Bertrand, a very nice guy, and Bertrand died 6-7 months ago. Okay.
In the Malaysian earthquake.
Yes.
Myanmar.
So, Myanmar.
In Myanmar.
Malaysia.
And so the public authority had to move forward because they have to send invoices, they have to manage ICANN staff and things like this. So now I don't really know what they are doing, how they think they will work tomorrow, but it's moving for Corsica.
There was a big publication about the content, no?
Yeah, the
website.
contract has been
Yeah.
put also on, because this is a public authority, so they
No,
do.
I mean the content of the website.
Yeah.
There was the same, rules that .cat has, no? Something like that. That's
And
part of this.
BZH too.
That you need to have some website in Corsican.
Yeah, they try to have that, and they have a Corsican language, but this is not compulsory. This is something like it's well seen. One other thing is that about the geos, most of the time they are public authorities, which means that they are doing call for tenders regularly. It's not the case for every private companies that can sign contracts for 10 years or so Corsica has launched a new call for tender this summer, and I think it has been designated as backend registry once again by Corsica just few days ago, and they are still looking for someone to do the job that Bertrand used to do, and to replace this part of the consultancy, let's say, about Corsica.
For geo-registries, having on your policies some very restrictive tools, like you have to build a website, in my language and things like this. It's nobody check this now, okay? Because I have a .corsica domain name, I don't use it. they never ask me something, but it's a way for us to say the day we need, if there is a case where we need to do something, say, I don't like this domain name, I don't like the registrant, maybe he's doing something not, okay, you are not respecting our policies, okay? So stop your website, change something, do something, okay? But that's why we have things like this in our policies, but usually we are not using them, okay? I don't think Corsica is checking every website to see if they are communicating in Corsican, or they don't have enough time and people to check that. Yes.
What's your expectation for GI's application for the next round?
In France, I think we won't have any city, because the round is just at the time of the
GIs.
GIs or cities?
GIs.
GIs.
He perfectly understands. He pretended not to.
So,
Between 0 and
Joker. I think lots of GIs are waiting for the big one. Maybe we'll do something, maybe not. If we do something, maybe I will. So there is one big, and I think everybody's waiting for what
Even in
they will do.
foreign countries like Italy or...
if someone goes from Parmigiano or Gorgonzola, or I don't know. The thing is that that's what we said during the previous panel. The fact that the window of opportunity lasts 3 months is a huge burden for this kind of approach, because if you know, let's say on the 15th of May that Gorgonzola has applied, you may have others who will say, okay, I'm going to go there, but there will be no more time to do it, because the window of opportunity is so tiny. So for now it's difficult to be sure, but
I think that the problem is GI are particular because I see them as collective trademark.
Yeah.
But the interest of the community of the GI is not the same in size.
Yeah.
So I may say that you are big actors, very big, from very big group. If you think about Champagne, you got major group, LVMH, and so on, which are member of the community, and you have very small producers. They don't share the same interests. So, and personally, and it's only personal view, I think this is very complicated inside to move forward with such project, because the big ones, they have interest in the name Champagne, but they have also major interest in their own brands.
Yes.
So they have to balance their interest. And the small one, they have also a collective interest from small producers, but they are following the group. So
Yes,
I'm not very confident with such projects.
but I think that small groups lack sometimes also awareness. So the big ones have also the awareness. It's not only a question of interest, it's also a question of awareness and of course budget. So.
All right, and that's why what Benjamin said at the beginning, doing a link between geos and GI is still interesting. And we always say Champagne, but Champagne is not really a geo. I mean, of course there is a place that is called Champagne, but I mean there's not enough people to. For instance, if you look at Savoie, Savoie is a place. There are people there. You can have people that are interested to register at Savoie because of ski, of mountains, but you also have a lot of small GIs. Most of them that are cheese from Savoie that could be protected by this geo, just like Alsace, for instance. So there can be also a mix between geo and GI that may be more easy to convince. But I have to speak with you between the LVMH and the very lonely producer of champagne, the interests are not the same.
Another point is that it's very expensive to apply for a GI, okay? Because usually it's small association, it's expensive, and if they apply, they will have to ask for European fund. Okay, Champagne can do it by itself because they have enough to apply for a TLD, but for small ones, they need help. They need funds from the European Union, for example, and it's very long to apply for those funds. So the timing is difficult.
I think that Alexandre made a very good point that the GI government bodies, such as the Comité of Champagne, there is a kind of unity when it comes to defend the GI, but there is no unity when it comes to promote the GI because they have all of these groups or maisons, they have their own digital strategy. They don't want to collaborate on that. They want to keep having their own strategy and their independence. And they are not keen to give more power to the Champagne Committee. So for the moment, they are just playing defense. So maybe, I mean, this approach explains that there is a trust issue, that the Champagne can help us to make sure that the customers will be in contact with a legit website about Champagne. That's maybe an opportunity here to convince them that it's a defensive approach as well.
And also that it costs less than any advertisement program that Champagne could pay every year to advertise the Champagne, because it's still let's say 500,000 euro if you go mountains high. This is less than what Champagne is spending to advertise Champagne every year. So even if it's a one shot, it can be useful.
Okay, thank you for your insights and also to the audience for the attention and the questions.
Thank you very much, Ivett.
It's 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock tea. Bourré sur le truc maintenant. Plein de machins. C'est dégueulasse. Ouais, c'est du Nicole, hein. C'est pas tout fait méchant. C'est juste dégueulasse. Ça va peut-être te faire arrêter de fumer. Bah, c'est un petit peu ce que j'essaie de faire, hein, mais là. Thank you.
Well, I didn't want to blame the organizer.
So everything is delayed.